Quick introduction of myself. I'm Roberto Muffoletto. I am a photographer. I am an arts administrator. I run a project called the VASA Project, which is 15 years old now. It's an online exhibition, film screening, a journal on images and culture, and a whole range of other projects that have been going on. Everybody's a volunteer, and there's no money involved. Okay, so it's really about passion and about work. This is an image out of one of our essay series. Authors in the journal tend to write 3 to 5 essays a year. Okay, so it kind of gives them a platform to develop ideas, etc. This is one on AI and creativity that's starting its 5th essay, as soon as I get back and upload it. Okay, I tend to speak fast. I've been living in Europe 20 years, so I've learned that I tend to speak fast. So if I'm speaking fast for somebody, let me know, okay? Okay. Initially, I was going to do a regular presentation, but after some discussion with a therapist that's in the group someplace, we decided that it's much better to start with questions, okay? Like, what's your question about AI and creativity and photography? Because one of the things that people are saying, if I can do this, there we go. My theme for this was AI photography is not the problem. We are the consumers, we are the viewers, we are the users. We are the problem, not AI photography. AI photography is what it is. Okay. And there's been some controversy, which we'll get to at the end real quick. It's about AI-generated or created images. What's the controversy around that? And who defines what the problem is? Who defines, who has the power for the discourse, the narrative? Who says there's a problem with AI photography, and why? Okay, go back to that one. And we know photography is about truth. This lovely lady, it was actually taken in, this you may be familiar with. Boris Algassen, a German photographer, won the Sony World Photography Award for his photograph. And he later admitted it was AI generated. It was not traditional photography. Sony didn't really come out and say that. He pulled it out. He didn't accept the award because it was not his terms photography. What he wanted to do was start a conversation about AI generated, or photography generated through AI, and where people would take that. So I'd like to switch now to the audience. That's you folks. And what questions do you have that we could begin to explore some of the ideas or concerns about AI and photography and even creativity? Sir.
So as a photojournalist who actually works in New York City, everybody knows what Photoshop can do and how it can lie. Everybody knows what Photoshop can do and how it can lie, change an image. Now with AI, we have more misinformation and information age. And I see AI as a big threat to the truth. And just recently, even President Trump has been using it for his propaganda. And there are programs and initiatives. Adobe has the Content Authority. But too many people, if you just look through Instagram, are easily fooled of what AI and what's not. And they just question real news, so everything's now fake news. And isn't that dangerous for democracy?
So the question is about photojournalism, reality, truth. Yeah. My position is, over the years, and I've been working with images for over 50 years, okay? I'm an old guy, like a lot of us in the audience, I guess. But basically, photography is always a lie. It's never true, okay? It's about where the photographer stands, when they decide to take the picture, who the picture is going to be used for, etc. If you know A.D. Coleman, one of America's best-known art critics, photography critics, writers about photography, he did a wonderful research project on Robert Capa's D-Day photographs. And most of what we've been told in photography classes in publications isn't really true about those photographs. If you get a chance, search it on the web and catch up on his writings about Kappa. Susan Meiselas, who you may know, did two major projects, one in Nicaragua and El Salvador during the revolution. And she has pointed out that the photographers on the other side, the government side, were making same pictures, but they were different. So where does truth lie? Okay, change the focal length, change the lens, change the shutter speed, stand in a different place. It's a different photograph. So the photograph's more about the photographer than it is about the event they're photographing. Okay, I used to photograph weddings in my younger days, and they were always fake, right? You tell the bride and groom, pretend you're happy. Okay, this is a big event. The divorced parents got to stand next to each other, pretend you're happy. Okay, so the question is about photojournalism. Have we always believed that the photograph represents something in reality? Yeah, that was happening there, but the image is framed, it's timed, and it's in a location that may not, 10 seconds later, it would be a different photograph, a different reality. David Duncan Douglas, back in 1960s, was photographing at the Democratic Convention, and he did a book called America Convention. And he, on one page, I used to use this when I was teaching, on one page, he was like this crowd of media people, cameras, etc., on this candidate, okay? And it's really crowded, and the message is, this is an important event. The next image was he was back about 10, 15 feet, or 5 meters, and it was just a small group of people in a large hall. It changed the importance and the truth of that picture. So I think, in some ways, yes, the event happened, but how we perceive it, how a photographer works with it, is not always truthful, or maybe shouldn't be seen as truth. Okay, this is my opinion. That's all I have. Yeah, here we go. Yes, sir.
Well, now with AI,
Yeah.
historically in the darkroom, you could even, Jerry Yulzman did multiple image photos. Then Photoshop came in, and it became easier and easier to alter pictures. Now, are we making this way too easy to lie visually? And at least as a photojournalist, you had to do an ethical pledge. And if you get caught manipulating, you lose your career.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when the term fake news, quick little story, I covered Trump's rally when he went back to Butler, Pennsylvania, where he was shot. This gentleman came up to me, and he asked me who I was working for, and one of my clients is the New York Post. And he knew it was a conservative paper. He was very nice. But he was wearing a T-shirt at the time which had the photograph of Trump pumping his fist from the first rally. And ironically, a good friend of mine from the Associated Press took that photo. And I just said, sir, you don't have to agree with all media. But the issue is that just using the term fake news is dangerous. I was almost killed on 9/11, and I had friends killed in Afghanistan and Libya just trying to tell the truth. So just using that term fake news is dangerous. And he was like, yeah, whatever. And then I asked him, well, that shirt pumping, that was all staged. That was Hollywood just to get Trump elected. Oh, no, he was shot. Oh, definitely, he was shot. And then I asked him, sir, do you understand why the term fake news is dangerous? Because now anybody can throw that around. And to his credit, he understood what I was saying. So.
Okay. So the question is.
The question is, are we opening a Pandora's box of easily manipulating?
I think that's a good question.
Because
okay.
historically, like you said, by where you stand, you can
Yeah.
change a perspective, everything like that. Now anybody can do it, and can you tell that's manipulated? So if it's manipulated, should it have a sticker saying,
Well, I would take the position that all photographs are manipulated, even what we call straight photography, okay? By the fact that we said where you stand when you take it, what lens you use, all that, color, black and white, all those factors come into play, into the decision-making of the photographer. And in some ways, that's manipulation, okay? I think that when we start talking about AI and artificial images, but they're not artificial, they're real images, okay? It's how we define reality. It's how we define truth, what we accept as truth. If you're in Tel Aviv, you see images from Gaza, and you say, that can't be right. Those kids aren't hungry. But yet we see on CNN, those kids are hungry, okay? So it depends on how we understand what truth is and who the audience is, okay? There was a lot of work in literary theory back in the 70s and 80s on how viewers of text, readers of text, and photographs are text to be read, began to how they create meaning. You know, I mean, you go back to with photographers, how do you create meaning, or you think you create meaning in your work that's meaningful to you, but may not be meaningful to people looking at it, right? And that's where semiotics and those areas of study come into play. But it's how we accept what truth is, you know, fake news from good old Donald, you know, but how do we accept it, how we define what truth is, right? Anybody that works with 12-year-old kids knows that there's many variations of truth. I started out as a 6th grade teacher in the States. So, you know, truth is one thing. Where you tell your parents where you were as a teenager, truth is very flexible, right? So, but I mean, I think it's a real good question because what our access to the world is through written text, video, and still pictures. And how does an educated or non-educated audience begin to make meaning of those? I mean, and then in my country, the States, even though I live in Sicily, is people vote based on what they think is truthful. Okay? Some people believe there are angels.
Okay, but at a point when we all see fake news and everything is manipulated, we don't know when there is this limit. I mean, how do you know? If you don't even go there and you just write the prompts to create something, people who see those creations, they don't know if you have seen it really or not, and to what point it's true, or it's totally false, you know, because it's then you see only those artificially created pictures. And you get the image, oh, maybe this is real, so I will create something similar to that, and it's even more artificial. So
I think the question is, how do we know it's real, right? Is it?
Well, maybe.
That's kind of, I try to water it down, so it's, okay. I mean, I don't have an answer to that. I mean, how do we know? I have friends in Kharkiv, and I was on WhatsApp video with them, and they're in the street, we're just talking, and all of a sudden the sirens go off. And they said, we gotta go. You know, that's real, I think. You know, when I see photographs of the apartment buildings hit in Kharkiv, that's another reality to is it real? I take it as real. So it's a real good question. How do we know what's real? You know, how do we know what's real in our own lives? You wake up in the morning and say, did I dream that? You know, deja vu, you know? I mean, even we question our own sense of reality, you know? And now that we kind of get into more certain type of adventures with our mind, we can really begin to challenge what reality is. Okay, I mean, so it's a real, I mean, it's good questions. Both of those are good questions, but there's not easy answers, and there's many answers to what truth is. People believe the Bible is truthful, right? I've been reading some of Mary Magdalene's Bible stuff. Different story, okay? So, I mean, what's truthful? You know, I was brought up Roman Catholic in Buffalo, New York, so I had no choice, right? So AI, we slide back into AI. AI is generated technology-wise. The user or the programmer, what I call it, gives prompts. And in the same way, I think that a photographer will go out looking for something. If you look at street photography right now, there's a lot of festivals of street photography, publications. YouTube was full of all this how-to and stuff. Okay, but basically, they go out, and when people make a photograph, what do? You decide to do it. Whether you're doing a Henry Besson type deal where you stand in one place till the world passes in front of you and go click, or you're out hunting for something. And people are hunting for what a photograph is. Well, how do they decide what is a good photograph? How do they decide that that's the photograph I want to take? Okay? Those are, to me, are questions I don't have answers to. But people begin to think about what do I want to make with my photography? So we go back to AI. You got a person sitting behind a desk giving prompts to a computer program and making decisions on those prompts. Is that really that much different? What's produced is an image. And if we're concerned about images, well, let's go back to good old darkroom days. I think some of us here remember darkrooms and developing film and standing over the trays, right? And then we move from analog to digital. We move from printing our own stuff, because the assumption was that Ansel Adams printed his own photographs, and he wasn't. When he got older, a guy named Sam Hayes was his darkroom assistant, who actually did the printing of his work, okay? But basically, you begin to look at those kind of things. My mouth has got real dry. I forgot where I was going with that. But basically, the changes we've gone through, analog to digital. Digital is going to kill us. Remember when the argument was about photography and painting? Right? Art is dead.
I'm an angel, I know.
We're old friends. I've been coming to almost every one of these conferences. And each one, she does so much work. We talk throughout the year. It's amazing.
Yeah, but let's talk about AI, not me.
Yeah. So I got, 7 minutes left?
No, it's how long you are talking. But you are talking longer because I switched it on too late. But it's okay.
Okay.
Just drink your water.
Okay, well, they also want to have a break. I mean, yeah.
If they want it, they will go.
Yeah. For anybody who put conferences on or meetings on, it's a 2-year project, what she's doing, especially the scope of this. I really, hope you all appreciate what she has brought to us all to experience. But anyway, going back to photography, that shift from painting to the camera, right? Then the camera changed to faster emulsion. Then we moved away from sun prints to enlargers. I'm not even sure when the first enlarger was invented. I've never found anything on that, because that changed everything too. I mean, Weston used to go out and use the moonlight to expose his negatives onto photosensitive paper, okay? There was no enlarger. Everything was like contact prints. So you keep seeing the development and the role of the photographer changing. That's my cue. Okay, so I mean, now AI is just another transition. Are we making images, or are we worried about the photographer? Okay, question. Another question, or thought, disagreement, conversations? We have a person here.
Hi. I hope I will tell everything what I wrote already. So I agree that we as a photographers, we have a different, we could choose our perspective of the picture. So I can show right now the space here is full or empty, right? But my question is, and I would like to talk about, like, if I use or someone else AI, someone can add, for example, giraffe here. Mm-hmm. And my question is, as she or he asks you, if should be some stamps, or should we call this picture, or for example some image, like I know, like English. Anyway, but you understand me, because as we know, young generation or even all of us, when we see something in Facebook, TikTok, etc., we see some picture or video, whatever, we not search later if it's true or not. We just believe we don't have a time or we not interested at all to just search if it's deeply true or not. So, yeah, that's my view, and my question about it should be called picture if it's now so easy to take it, to make it. Yeah, that's all, I think.
Okay, well, simplicity, this is the camera I've been using for the last 5 years. It's fantastic, okay? I got tired of being schlepping around all that equipment, right, to make photographs, even my small cameras. So it's about change, basically, how you begin to think about change. But I think your question, if I'm wrong, tell me. Okay, why don't you ask it again?
Like basically my question was if we should call for those one picture, if in our imagination picture is like picture right now, how we see, not something what we create extra, like at giraffe, and then someone else will think about, like, will believe already if someone came giraffe here or dog or cat. Like we saw dog here like few hours later, but if we saw a cat, we will believe if the cat was here already. Got it? What I tell? Maybe I will tell in Polish and someone will translate. But I think it's almost cruel what I say. No?
Okay. In case you're wondering why I'm holding my ear, I'm deaf in this left ear, so I'm dumb in this side, I figure.
Okay.
Okay. And sometimes the acoustics just drive me crazy.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
my thought, it's before picture was already taken by camera, digital or analog.
Uh-huh.
Now we call the picture which is by AI as well. And no one search later if it's true picture,
Yeah.
true, like doesn't matter about perspective, but it's picture, but no one search if something else happened or not.
Okay, we'll see if I can play with that a little bit.
So
If it's a lie, once you tell people it's a lie, then it's not a lie. The secret's out. The idea of telling a lie, if you're 16 years old and you weren't drinking beer, right? You tell your parents, no, I wasn't drinking. Then, when driving, if they tell them, oh yeah, I was, the lie is out. It's not a lie anymore. So the question is, what's a lie, and when does a lie not become a lie, right? The question is, what do we believe that photograph to say, to tell us? We interpret it, we read the image, right? We read it as a series of signs and symbols and all that stuff to make meaning, to construct meaning out of it. A person with an M16 rifle sitting in front of a schoolhouse has a particular type of meaning, in the United States anyway, than somebody with a M16 out in the fields, right? Same rifle, same person, but the background is the school. And that carries a lot of other information with it. So how do we read those images become important? Do we believe them, first of all? Like I said, there are people that believe there are angels. And there may be, I don't know. But, so how do we know? I don't have an answer for that. And maybe we never will have an answer until the truth comes out. Then what's the truth? Is it another lie? I don't know if I answered your question, but he's ready to throw one up here. Yeah.
Hello, thank you for your presentation.
Could you speak up, sir?
Yeah, sure. Question is, firstly, is partly answer for your question, and partly the new question. Is AI is already in the mainstream or not? This is the main question. And the second one, partly answer for your question, is a beauty filter. If you use a beauty filter in the picture, it's a true or not true. I need to make a fact checking or not. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
Think.
Repeat again the question.
The question is our AI is already in the mainstream.
Is AI?
Is already in,
In the
mainstream, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, depends how you define AI. If you look at Photoshop and those applications, they process the batch photographs for you. They resize them, everything, right? That's kind of artificial, right? Of course, AI is artificial intelligence. We don't know what intelligence really is. We only measured with a test, which is made up anyway. Okay, somebody thinks this is it, and there's many different intelligence factors. In education, they talk about math and science and arts and all that as being different kinds of intelligence. But yeah, I'm not sure I'm answering your question or getting to it.
Because if it's in the mainstream, we are pretty sure it's a kind of the true, yeah? Like all the mainstream things. Yeah, but if it's not in the mainstream, we could afraid it is not true or the false. Do you know what I mean? Still not.
Okay, it's probably a good question, but I keep moving closer, but the speakers are here, so it doesn't matter if I move closer or not. It's like wearing headsets and you want to move closer to your screen to hear better. You're wearing headsets, you know. Could you repeat what he said?
Okay, I'll try.
Okay.
He was talking about the mainstream, that it's true. That
Yeah.
So when it's a mainstream, we think it's true.
Right. Okay, it's about mainstream. AI entering the mainstream. Okay. It's going to be there. And I'm sure if you follow what's the politics in the States right now, there's a lot of AI going on, right? Especially with Donald and what they're doing. They manufacture, politics. They manufacture messages. So it's there. It's there. Now, in the art world, people are upset. Where's the creativity? Where's the author? Where's the photographer in this process? Well, the photographers changed the definition to a person who runs a computer and gives out, directions to a computer, and also will make changes to the image that they want to make changes to. The same thing we do in a darkroom. The same thing we do when we look at proofs. We want to highlight this. We want to burn that in. No terminology, burning. Yeah, so it's already there, and it will get more and more. If you've been following on YouTube, there's all these little short videos on androids, robots. They look now like they have artificial skin. They can talk. They can gesture. They can show facial expression, and it's quite amazing. I'm an old Star Trek fan, and Data was my hero. But they're going to pass Data up pretty soon. Okay. I don't know, but it's there. And it's going to be more. And how do we understand that it's manipulated and not made what we would call real? Right? What we call real. Like the food we eat at our table, is it really food?
I wanted to say AI is AI within itself, because photography is painting with light. And one thing which we haven't addressed yet, though, is copyright. So I'm actually good friends with Michael, and I've photographed in Cuba also. And how is AI trained? It's trained on thousands and millions of other images. And these companies have essentially stolen these images to train our photos, for their photos, off our images. So how do I know some of Michael's Cuba pictures, that face there, was not actually a photograph of one of my photographs? And there's actually huge lawsuits. I know in earlier AI models, there was a picture printed, and a Getty watermark ended up in the actual AI image. And so essentially that photograph was trained on a Getty photograph. So you're stealing other creatives' work, essentially. And I think that's extremely dangerous because I'm not being paid for that.
Right. I mean, it's
From a copyright point of view, it's, you know, anything you do, any picture I've taken, somebody else can create images off my photographs. And to me, that's not creativity.
Yeah.
That's stealing.
well, let me reply to it this way. A decade ago, we don't say years anymore, we say decades, okay? Decades ago, a book came out, photo book, on Zuckerberg's dog. Zuckerberg was the Facebook person, right? And there was lawsuits against this photographer. The courts in the United States, as well as some countries in Europe, said it was made with creative intention. You can reuse images that are in the public domain, okay? And as long as you're not making a profit off it or money off it, it's okay for artists to use whatever they want to use. So, I mean, it depends whether you're making a profit, and that's always been a question with copyright.
Well, who owned those images? That was the main thing.
Yeah, yeah,
So that's the whole issue right there.
yeah.
And it was a work for hire. Then the person who hired you owns those images. If it be Mark Zuckerberg, or
Yeah.
if it was not, you own those images and you can do anything you want.
I think as long as you bring money into it, things change. Okay?
Yeah,
Yeah.
for editorial, for news, news is news. I don't need consent. I don't need any of that, and I can sell my pictures for news value. But if I want to profit off it, make an advertisement with his dog, yes.
Yeah.
But that's copyright law. This is AI stealing other people's creative images. And that's completely different, and then also very dangerous. Because are we going to be able to find out what images, whose the original images that was based on?
I think as time goes on and more AI enters into the mainstream, more becomes part, those questions have to be addressed by the courts, right? It's financial, business type questions more so than creative, artistic questions. And I don't have a background in that, except for that little research I did on court decisions. But yeah, I think you're right. I mean, it's a question of copyright. And the same thing with written text. You know, you could use somebody to do just copy paste. And that was one of the problems they saw in schools. Kids were just copy pasting without giving due recognition to where the work came from and calling it their own. So I think, you know, the more we look at this and the more it emerges, those questions have to be addressed through the courts.
Well, with technology, it's easy just to do a screenshot of somebody else's work and then use it yourself. I make a couple $1,000s a year because I upload my pictures to my law firm, and these search for those photos being infringed, and then these sue. And, you know, what, a company used my photos illegally? Well, my law firm says, oh, we want $10,000. Like, whoa. And then they'll compromise, and it won't go to the court, but then they'll get $5,000. But people think, oh, just because it's online, oh, I can use that photo.
Yeah. And I think we'll see a difference in countries, how different countries solve the problem. Because it's more driven by borders, right? So what's approved, say, in Germany as being legal may be illegal in Belgium or in Canada, right? The United States doesn't matter anymore. You know, but basically, you know, I think it's a very complicated question, because if you publish something on a website in, let's say, China, right, and anybody can access it in the world, right? Can they have to give copyright to your work? And how do you, if you want to go after them, how do you go after them in China, or in Philippines, or wherever it might be, or in Canada, right? Yeah, I'm not even sure how much time we have left. We don't have time left. This is it, guys. It's over, I guess. Any other question? One more question? Thought? Disagreement? But the conversation is important, I think. And in photography classrooms and media classrooms, those issues have to be addressed, and they might be, right? Because it's, you know, it's a different process. Different process.
If I would like to add something. that,
Oh, there you are.
yeah, here
Yeah.
am
Oh,
I.
I know.
Hi. Can you hear me? yeah.
Yes, muffled.
Uh,
Maybe it's my ear.
I think that AI is something that we will not escape from. We can't escape from AI. It has already happened.
Yeah.
So I think that the wisest thing to do is to tame it and to develop a way to use it so that it doesn't use us. And I believe in humanity. I believe in our wisdom and in our intelligence, that we will develop tools which will allow us to use AI wisely. And of course, we are afraid now because it's something new. But it was the same with steam machine when it appeared, or with computers when they appeared. And after some time, we learned how to use it and how to use it wisely. And as for fake in photography, I agree with you. Fake was in photography from the very beginning. It was developed. It's included in photography. So we think that, well, yeah, it was so true. No, it never was. It's from the very beginning, there was fake in it.
I think the important comment is it's how we use it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's how we use it.
It depends on us, because we can do everything with it, and of course there is a lot of threat in it. But when photography appeared, painters said the same about photography. I remember when digital appeared, it was the same. Maybe not the same, but similar concerns. How it will that digital will kill photography, and when photography appeared, that photography will kill painting. Nothing like that happened, and I think that AI will generate a new kind of a new way of creativity. And you also said this. It depends on us how we use it. Yeah, and how we. But we must have tools to check it, what's artificial, what not, what is not. But I believe that we will do it as humanity.
You're right. There are bad actors and good actors. The question is, who determines who's bad and who's good?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, where's that line of bad and good, and who defines it?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay. So thank you, Roberto. Thank you for your voice about AI. And also, for those of you who are interested in the subject more, we will have next week till the 26th, we will have a series of online webinars, lectures, and workshops. They will all be online, also the workshops. They are all devoted to AI. They will be run by Polish masters of AI, because there already exist such persons as masters of AI. So if you want to attend, you are more than welcome. You can find the links and information on our website. So we will develop this path, and we will see where it will take us. Thank you very much. A short break, and we start again at 4. I dziękujemy naszemu panu tłumaczowi za trudną pracę.